Hello learners. In this session, we are going to learn about World Wide Web. Let's see the contents of the session. They are working of www, hypertext, hypermedia, and URL. So let's begin with working of www. The World Wide Web is based on several different technologies: web browsers, hypertext markup language, and hypertext transfer protocol. Web browsers can be defined as programs which display data on the Internet. Hyperlinked resources on the World Wide Web can be accessed using software interface provided by web browsers. Web browsers can be used for several tasks, including conducting searches, mailing, transferring files, and much more. Some of the examples are Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, etc. Now, let's head towards components of web. There are three components of web. Uniform Resource Locator URL, which serves as a system for resources on web. Hypertext Transfer Protocol or HTTP, which specifies communication of browser and server. Hypertext Markup Language or HTML, which defines structure, organization, and content of web page. Moving forward, the building blocks of the web are web pages which are formatted in HTML and connected by links called hyperlinks and accessed by HTTP. Hypertext offers the advantage to select a word or phrase from text and thus to access other pages that provide additional information related to that word or phrase. Now let's see what an hypertext is. Hypertext documents are interconnected by hyperlinks which are typically activated by a mouse click, key press set, or screen touch. Apart from text, the term hypertext is also sometimes used to describe tables, images, and other presentational content formats with integrated hyperlinks. Hypertext documents can either be static or dynamic. A well-constructed system can also incorporate other user interface conventions such as menus and command lines. A lesser-known feature is stretch text, which expands or contracts the content in place, thereby giving more control to the reader in determining the level of detail of the displayed document. Let's see hypermedia. Hypermedia, an extension of the term hypertext, is a non-linear medium of information that includes graphics, audio, video, plain text, and hyperlinks. The World Wide Web is a classic example of hypermedia, whereas a non-interactive cinema presentation is an example of standard multimedia due to the absence of hyperlinks. Now, let's learn some more about hypermedia. Hypermedia applications may be developed on embedded devices for the mobile and the digital signage industries using the scalable vector graphics specification from W3C. Software applications such as Equivo Animator and Inkscape simplify the development of hypermedia content based on SVG. Embedded devices such as the iPhone natively support SVG specifications and may be used to create mobile and distributed hypermedia applications. Now let's learn about URL. What is a URL? A uniform resource locator, otherwise known as URL, is the address of a resource on the internet and the protocol used to access it. It indicates the location of a web resource like a street address indicates where a person lives physically. Because of this, an URL is often referred to as web address. A URL contains the following information. The information contained in URL is like the protocol used to access the resource, the location of the server, whether by IP address or domain name, the port number on the server, the location of the resource in the directory structure of the server, and a fragment identifier